Rumblings or roots? Why Jamaica's housing market isn't crashing. It's maturing. By Jamaica Homes, published on July 10, 2025. It seems every week there's a fresh headline from abroad sounding the alarm about a potential housing market crash. Doom here, bust there, and if you're scrolling social media or watching international news, it's easy to assume Jamaica's housing market is on the brink too. But let's be clear, Jamaica's story is not America's rerun. Our housing market is on its own path, one built on resilience, a bit of history, and some growing pains. We're not heading for collapse. We're heading for correction, and possibly the kind of market we should have been building all along. We don't need panic, people. We need perspective. Jamaican real estate has always been a slow cooker, not a flash fire. Dean Jones, founder of Jamaica Homes and Realtor associate at Coldwell Banker Jamaica Realty. A little backtrack, how we got here. To understand where things are going, you need to know where Jamaica's housing market came from. Back in the 1950s and 60s, homeownership was a dream reserved for the middle and upper classes, especially those in Kingston and Montego Bay. Post-independence, the Jamaican government began taking more deliberate steps to make housing accessible. Institutions like the National Housing Trust, NHT, founded in 1976, played a pivotal role in this shift. Funded by payroll deductions, the NHT aimed to provide affordable housing solutions for workers. That was a turning point. Through the 80s and 90s, we saw bursts of construction driven by tourism, remittances, and diaspora investment. But we also saw crashes. Think 1990s financial sector collapse that left developers cautious and buyers wary. What kept us going? Resilience and foreign exchange. Diaspora buyers and returning residents have consistently kept the high end of the market afloat. Then came the 2000s, and things began to shift again. Gated communities sprang up. Townhouses became aspirational. Middle-class Jamaicans were inching closer to keys in hand, not just through NHT, but private financing, family gifts, and informal arrangements too. But nothing compares to what happened post-2019. COVID-19 flipped the global housing market on its head. In Jamaica, lockdowns and low interest rates prompted a buying frenzy. Inventory couldn't keep up. Prices surged, particularly in urban hotspots like Kingston 6, Portmore Pines, and the soon-to-be King Zones of St. Catherine. People with access to cash, especially returning Jamaicans and savvy investors, jumped at the opportunity. And now, the market is cooling, but that's not the same as crashing. What the experts are actually saying. Let's shift focus briefly to the global forecast, because it influences buyer sentiment everywhere, including here. In the recent Home Price Expectations Survey from Fannie Mae, over 100 top housing experts were asked to predict price movements over the next 5 years. The findings were surprisingly boring, and that's a good thing. The average projected price growth is 3.3% per year through 2029. Optimists think we'll see growth closer to 5% annually. Pessimists still predict 1.3% growth, which is modest, but it's still growth. Not one group of experts forecasted a complete crash, not even close. In other words, the market isn't collapsing. It's more than likely just correcting. A correction is not a catastrophe or Armageddon. It's a chance to recalibrate, to build with purpose, not pressure. Dean Jones, what that means for Jamaica. So how does this global projection line up with what's happening on our rock? Right now, Jamaica is facing a few realities. Rising inventory in certain markets. Some communities, particularly in Greater Portmore, parts of St. James, and sections of St. Anne, are seeing more listings. That can mean slower price growth or even minor dips. Steady demand in key areas. Neighborhoods like Norbrook, Millsboro, Ironshore, and Cardiff Hall are still hot. Limited inventory and high buyer interest mean prices are holding strong or even climbing. Diaspora-driven demand. Foreign-based Jamaicans continue to invest, especially in properties they can use for dual purposes, vacation and income. Short-term rental, anyone? Affordability gap for locals. While prices have risen, salaries haven't always kept pace. That creates tension, particularly among younger buyers. Yet here's the twist. Even with some local slowdowns, there's no evidence of a crash on the horizon. Why? Because the key elements that typically cause market crashes, excessive foreclosures, subprime lending, oversupply, aren't present in Jamaica. Let's break that down. The pillars holding Jamaica's market steady. Low mortgage default rates. Our banks have kept lending standards tight. Mortgages are still hard to get, unless you show you can repay. That keeps reckless borrowing low and prevents mass foreclosures. Solid equity among homeowners. Many Jamaican homeowners either bought long ago, built on family land, or inherited property. Their equity is high. That cushions the market. Cash buyers still strong. A significant chunk of real estate transactions in Jamaica are cash-based, especially in gated communities and resort areas. That keeps the market less vulnerable to interest rate shocks. NHT support remains crucial. Despite criticism, the NHT, as I've been both told and remains one of the biggest enablers of first-time homeownership in Jamaica. It continues to act as a stabilizing force. In Jamaica, land is legacy. We don't just buy property. We inherit pride, place, and the potential to rewrite family history. Dean Jones, price trends to watch by 2029. Let's bring it back to projections. Based on a mix of global and local data, here's what you might expect over the next 5 years in Jamaica. Urban areas. Places like Kingston and St. Andrew, especially areas close to transport hubs, new developments, and universities, will likely see 3 to 5% annual growth. Emerging zones. Spanish Town, Mandeville, and Falmouth are expected to rise moderately as infrastructure improves. High-end coastal zones. These areas may grow faster, especially if short-term rentals and digital nomads continue to influence demand. Rural areas. Slower growth, but greater opportunity for agricultural or multi-generational buyers looking for land. Now for the witty bit. Yes, some buyers are waiting on a crash, like a late bus. But spoiler alert, that bus might never come. And if it does, it's probably heading to another route. While you wait on a 2008-style bust, someone else is buying your dream house with the exact budget you're saving for after the crash. Timing the market is like trying to fry plantain without watching it. Blink, and it's burnt or gone. Fear makes people wait. Wisdom makes people prepare. In real estate, preparation always wins. Dean Jones. How to move smart right now. Whether you're a first-time buyer, investor, or someone thinking of selling, the most important thing you can do now is get clarity. That means understand your local market. National trends are helpful, but your zip code matters more. Prices in Negril might not reflect prices in Old Harbor. Know your numbers. Work with your bank or broker to get pre-qualified. Figure out your purchasing power today, not next year. Explore options. Can't buy alone? Explore co-ownership models, family land development, or joint ventures. Get professional advice. Connect with a realtor who knows the market and the culture. Someone who can decode the nuances between negotiable and flexible. And if you're still unsure, that's okay. Just don't let fear keep you stuck. Because one thing is certain, the housing market in Jamaica isn't crashing. It's growing up. Housing is more than shelter. It's where stories begin, where roots take hold, and where every Jamaican, no matter where dem come from, deserves a fair start. Dean Jones. Final word, don't buy the drama, buy the data. Jamaica's housing market is shifting, not sinking. Whether prices go up 1.3% or 5% annually, they're still going up. What matters most is that you're ready when opportunity comes knocking. Because one thing this island has taught us, storms pass. And if your foundation is strong, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. Disclaimer: the information provided in this article is for general educational and informational purposes only. It does not constitute financial, legal, or real estate advice. Market conditions vary widely by location and personal circumstances. Readers are encouraged to consult with licensed professionals, including real estate agents, financial advisors, and legal experts, before making any property-related decisions. Jamaica Homes and Dean Jones are not liable for any actions taken based on the contents of this article.